Thank you so much again for joining me on this channel. As always, I'm very grateful for all your previous views, likes, subscriptions and shares. It is Pride Month, so once again we'll be looking at those LGBTQIA plus religious pioneers. These are individuals who, in their respective faiths, have looked to make progress for those in the LGBTQIA plus community. As always, we'll go through the religions in alphabetical order for parity of esteem. Our first faith is Buddhism. This is Catriona Reid. Born in the UK and attending an all-boys school, she transitioned in the 1980s. What's interesting is that looking back on her life, she talks about the power of the school library and how she discovered books on Buddhism. Buddhism, she says, was the context of my rebellion. At about the age of 30, she went to the United States of America and the state of Massachusetts, where she went to a Buddhist retreat, and she has stayed ever since. She's a member of the American Zen Teachers Association. Zen Buddhism is a particular flavour of Buddhism that originated from Japan. Zen just means meditation. And with her partner, Michelle Benjamin, Mickey, she set up her own Buddhist retreat to help support people. The retreat that she runs follows a program called the 5 Changes and just reflects on aspects of prayer, meditation and reflection, allowing people to discover who they really are. What's striking is this quote where she says, "I finally learned that we owe it to ourselves and to everyone to become fully and authentically visible." It's a powerful quote about how being authentic isn't just important to the individual, but also everyone connected to them and around them. Next is Christianity. This is the Reverend Naomi Washington Leaphart. She is a daughter of the American city of Detroit, and she's a preacher, activist, teacher, theologian and scholar. She married her wife, Katina Washington Leaphart, in 2017, and the two have a young daughter. A fascinating quote from the Reverend is this: "We were always there, we were just invisible. But now it's what do we do with the visible presence of LGBTQ folks who are not willing to be in the closet. I believe that all people, including LGBTQ people, are made in God's image and are vital shapers of religious life and community." It's a real insight into how Christians believe that human beings are made. It goes back to that Genesis account and the idea that human beings are made in the image of God. Let's have a look at a pioneer from Hinduism. This is Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi. Lakshmi is a well-known figure in India, campaigning for LGBTQIA plus rights. She was also the first transgender person to represent Asia Pacific for the United Nations in 2008. Lakshmi comes from a tradition known as Hijras in India. These are people who are transgender or intersex. Up until the 1800s, Hijras were given a huge amount of divine respect. However, due to British colonialism, transgenderism was criminalised, and since then it's been a real battle to regain that status. Lakshmi is helping to win that status back. That has been done partly as well through setting up a religious order, a community to support Hijras known as the Kinna Akhara. She says of her critical roles and the status of Hijras, "We face stigma, we face discrimination, and we face torture. But the biggest strength in the world is the strength not to surrender." Showing remarkable resilience, Lakshmi and others are working to make sure that there is equality in India and Hinduism. Our next pioneer is from the religion of Islam. This is Muhsin Hendricks, a South African imam. An imam is a leader of a mosque and Islamic scholar. He came out as gay in 1996 and has been described as the world's first openly gay imam. To create a safe space for the LGBTQI plus community to worship, he literally opened up his garage, put a carpet down and invited people to come in and pray. Since then, he has gone on to establish a mosque, which he quotes, for those who live on the peripheries of Muslim society. A strong presence on social media has of course helped to raise the profile of himself and his work, and he refers to himself as being not confrontational but carefrontational. We can get a flavour of his work through this quote. I learned that homosexuality was just the first avenue to address a lot of other injustice. You'd be amazed at the amount of straight people that are attracted to our organisation. So I realised that I'd taken on something big. I've taken on the patriarchy that sits behind Islam. Patriarchy is a system which favours men and gives them status and privilege. It's helpful to see how his work isn't just for those in the LGBTQIA+ community, but how he's also tackling lots of other forms of injustice and inequality. Our next religion is Judaism. This is Rabbi Alan Bennett. And from a very early age, his friends thought that young Alan would actually make quite a good rabbi. So he was ordained in 1974. He had known for some time that he was gay and came out a few years later. He says himself that at that time it was a bold move. There wasn't really the structure or support groups to help anyone who was a minister of faith and was gay. And since then he's taken on all sorts of roles, including not just dealing with the LGBTQIA+ community, but also social justice, and been an inspiration to the Jewish community. The rabbi talks about freedom in this quote. One of the biggest rewards since coming out was that I was free of the burden of deceit, lies and duplicity. That freedom meant that I could be a role model, a symbolic exemplar, and not experience ongoing guilt about being inauthentic. It's very moving when you realise how much of a relief it must have been for him to come out as gay, but also it shows as well the burden of responsibility by being a role model that he feels too. Let's have a look at a pioneer in the Sikh faith. This is Jiwandeep Kohli. Jiwandeep is bisexual and became an internet sensation after wearing this turban at a pride event. Jiwandeep is a neuroscientist at the San Diego State University. Part of his work involves bringing science out into the community and making his research findings accessible to broad and diverse audiences. What I love about Jiwandeep's story is that he was simply there at an event celebrating Pride. Photo was taken and it got an awful lot of interest. This quote gives a lovely summary of his work. My expression of queerness is influenced by my Sikh values, which motivate me to be visible and work towards equity within science and beyond. It's a revealing quote showing how important his religious faith and tradition is to him, and how that is bound up with his sexuality and also his approach and outlook to science. One thing that really struck me is that every single one of our pioneers is involved in a board, an organisation, a group. They've set one up and the list goes on. So apologies if I've seemed to have truncated their campaigns and their work. The same goes too for those little quotes. There is so much to unpack and so much to learn from them about how they view themselves and the work that they do. However you mark and celebrate Pride Month, I do hope that it goes well for you. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon, and as always, enjoy your learning.